we're officially back.
We are back right here on Sanity Check for how long?
Well, we did that for what, 5 years?
5 years.
94.3 FM, The Talker. I still remember that. But now we're going to start doing podcasts.
That's right.
And the one thing that we did do when we had Sanity Check, we gave everybody a voice. And you know, as long as they were able to speak intelligently and respectfully, everybody got a voice. And that's what this is all going to be about now is Sanity Check and what we plan on doing with the Independent Gazette, which we have right here, Michael, which we're back to printing again. And we called people out. We called it the way it is, and we were respectful, but at the same token, we did not let anybody give us the as we would say, the two-step or the...
Well, and it's people who are not originally familiar with Sanity Check. If you were able to watch some of our old things, there's we always say nobody is safe. Nobody is safe in the sense that it doesn't matter what party you are, Lou. It doesn't. If there's an injustice and righteousness needs to be served in these moments, then that's who we attack. This is who we go, and not really attack, but at least make people aware of what's going on and possible solutions, perhaps.
We brought all kinds of stuff out as far as some of the corruption. I remember like these things are just going to start popping out of me. We had Baloney Gate, which had something to do with the prisons, if I remember. Certainly, we had lag towing, where the towing company was towing people in Wilkes-Barre and charging an exorbitant amount of fees. And if you wanted to get your belongings back out, they usually told you if you couldn't pay the $1,000 fee, just bring your $100 bill and the title, and you were able to get your. They eventually went to jail. All the stuff that with some of the politicians, we had the kings and queens of Wilkes-Barre, which we focused on. Just a couple political families, all had to do with nepotism, cronyism. If I remember, wasn't it King Layton? Was it King Layton?
He was the mayor of Wilkes-Barre. Yes.
He was the mayor, and if I remember correctly, his brother worked in probation. His other brother worked in domestic.
Are you saying there was nepotism?
Oh my
in
God!
Wilkes-Barre?
The cousin was the chief of police. Remember, his other cousin was the solicitor. It was like about 12 different.
I think his 12-year-old daughter was the meter maid. I'm not sure.
It was unbelievable. I think there were like 12 different family members that were part of the school board.
Yes.
And remember, you know, and when people talk about retributions and stuff like that, every one of our advertisers was paid a visit. And I'll never forget, Michael, when we had a restaurateur called me one day, and he says, Lou, he says, the mayor just left, and he had two questions for me. And he said, what was it? And he says, why are we advertising in your newspaper, and when was my last inspection?
Oh.
Remember, he said, we love you guys, but we can't advertise anymore. So this is what happens. This is the real thing. And
you know, Lou, it's in every community.
Every community.
You know, we're sitting here in the area outside of Wilkes-Barre and into the Tunkhannock area, and you see similar things happening within the school board there. So there's nothing unique about each area. This is unfortunately what's going on in the corruption of America today. And we're here, I think, part of our goal is to enlighten people, to get them to realize what's going on and possible solutions and how they can get involved in making a difference.
We have a long history, Michael. We had a long history of bringing things to the forefront. The regular folks loved us. The politicians did not. And actually, I think Kennedy even talked about that. That's one of the goals. That's one of the goals of independent media is being fair, but at the same time, you're not there to make friends with the politicians. And there's a role. There's a reason why journalism and independent news was all part of that First Amendment protections, is that you're there to rout out and to look at corruption and nepotism and expose things that are going wrong within our own government. And when they operate in darkness, that's what they love. You know, cockroaches do not like sunlight.
That's correct. And you know, Lou, it's really interesting because when you're talking about what the media is supposed to be doing, exposing those things, and yet today we have the bought and paid for media, whether it's on the TV, whether it's in the newspapers, and you'll see the same thing, the same article, even brought to you in the same words. Well, that should be a clue that, hey, you know, the gig is up, and this is what we're trying to do. We're bringing that independent point of view healthy journalism, and many times just to ask the question, does this seem funny to you or not? And we hope to be able to, this year, to attack 3 issues, and to have some of our politicians to be accountable, or at least give us some answers, so that you, the voter out there, can say, okay, so I'm not liking that answer, or if the answer is a positive answer, what are our politicians going to be doing moving forward? And that's going to be our job, to be able to follow them and to report back to you to see how, in fact, they're responding to our requests.
Absolutely, and so we'll touch on those three issues. One of the things that we realized, and this is just through trial and error, we could constantly report about all the corruption, the nepotism. Lord knows, and we're going to touch on the kids for cash here, and the custody for cash, and the absolute despicable things that went on. What?
Evil.
Absolutely evil. Yeah. And for those that might not be aware of what happened with the kids for cash, certainly those judges are in jail. They were sending kids away for unbelievable long periods of time and getting kickbacks. And then we got into the custody for cash, which is a national. When we first broke our first story about custody for cash, and we're gonna let people know where they can go and look at those the custody for cash stuff that we broke, and a lot of the stories that we brought out. It's nationwide. It's nationwide, and there's absolutely no reason anymore that these judges and these courtrooms need to operate in darkness. We will be calling for cameras in all the courtrooms.
Yes.
We're certainly going to be exposing some of the horrific stories of so many people that have went through this, that are still fighting to this day. And a lot of the things that we talked about 10 years ago is still happening today.
Yes.
The same court personnel, and it's going to happen 10 years from now.
Yep.
So what we have decided to do is we're looking for solutions. If we can't fix it, we can report on all the horrific stories, and nothing ever seems to change. So we're going to stay on 3 stories,
yes.
Michael, right? One is the custody for cash. We want to make sure our politicians call for open hearings, and I'm telling you guys right now, we want to have cameras in courtrooms. I used the statement before, cockroaches don't like sunlight. Mm-hmm. We need to have cameras in courtrooms. Judge Judy just brought out, she's been calling about cameras in courtrooms, and she said, it's the dumping ground. Family courts is the dumping ground for dummies and losers and people that are owed political favors.
Right.
And so we're going to stay on that issue. We want to make sure that we have cameras in courtrooms. The other thing, Michael, I think what we're bringing up is, and you're spearheading this, is the free and equal elections. Yeah. The Constitution of Pennsylvania clearly calls free and equal elections, Mike. I think in your letter, you bring up the fact that it's not some elections, it's all elections. So either going to be a constitutionalist or going to be a party loyalist. And how do you follow up with that, Michael?
Well, the thing of it is, we've lost what that definition of free and equal elections is. Because right now, that definition is being formed, in my opinion, by the Democrat and Republican Party. Because they are now really controlling what goes on. They're controlling of who gets into the primaries, who doesn't get into the primaries. If you're an independent candidate, your goals for signatures is infinitely higher. The fees that you pay. So what we're trying to do in that, and as you mentioned years ago to me, Lou, and it's always stuck with me, there's so many giants out there to slay. Right. So now we've got to pick the giant, because you can't get them all. And this year is where this year coming up in 2024, and this is one of the giants we want to face. And this is free and equal elections. And it's not just about the voter, it's about the candidate. So we want to see good, honest candidates to be able to come up and be available, to be able to get, if you're an independent candidate, Lou, and you have more experience in this, what's the chance you're going to get into a debate? Are you going to be allowed to even? No, because the Democrats and Republican Party have now decided that they're going to make this an isolated situation just for the two parties. So the question is, how do we fight that? Well, we fight that by asking our politicians, are you for free and equal elections? They've got 1 or 2 answers, don't they, Lou?
Yes or no?
They've got yes, and now you're accountable for fixing the problems that we have. Or no, And now you're accountable to your voters to see whether you're going to get reelected again. And this should be a very interesting year.
Oh, this is the year that we need to put the pedal to the metal, as they say, and it's the election year. And if they're not going to get on board, maybe they need to be primaried and make sure that they have a candidate running against them. One of the things we brought up, and we like to joke about some things and use satirical humor sometimes, but at the end of the day, if I told you, Michael, that you needed to join the Elks Club or the Moose Club to be allowed to vote, you'd laugh at me and say, well, that's what we have here in Pennsylvania, folks. You have to join one of the two clubs, the Republican Club or the Democrat Club, to be allowed to participate in the primaries.
Correct.
And the other thing is that, if they want to have a closed primary, pay for it. We had a saying a long time ago, no taxation without representation.
Correct.
And then the third leg of the stool that we're going to try to make sure that we can have a real change is on the top of the minds right now of most voters is the immigration issue.
Yes.
I just heard a thing today, but this is documented, over 250,000, what you want to call them illegals or whatever anybody wants to call them, are coming through our gates.
Yes.
Our gates.
Yes.
Every single month.
They're not going around, Lou.
They're not going around.
Straight through.
I joke with some of my hardcore friends here. I guess the securities are border. I mean, our borders are secure because they're not running through. They're coming right through the gates.
Yes.
So we want to know from our congressmen and our 2 U.S. senators what their policy is and how they're going to fix it.
Correct.
So,
and some of the, and this is a personal, some of the ludicrous answers you get from if anybody's bored enough someday and you want to call up one of your representatives, in my case, Senator Casey, and the question I ask, and this might floor a cup of you, to the young woman that was talking to me, I said, well, is the senator okay with the taxpayer funding all these decisions? And she said to me, taxpayers not paying for it. And my response was, ma'am, I am sorry if you've been hoodwinked by the senator to believe that to be the truth, because it is not the truth. And we had a little discussion, and so many people have really, they haven't wrapped their heads around it, that we're all responsible. We're no longer just, Texas or Arizona. It's going to affect all of us. And we mentioned this years ago, Lou, that if I was living in Mexico or Honduras, and I had a family, and I had the opportunity to leave there and come here and bring my family to the possible land of opportunity, I would do it.
yeah.
So let's not blame the folks coming over. Let's blame our legislators for not coming up with something that makes a whole lot of sense, and to now make everybody responsible from beginning to end.
And there hasn't been any immigration reform since the Reagan administration. So folks, if you listen to this, we're going to be doing this a couple times a week now.
Yes.
We're going to have our newspaper is going to be coming out every 10 days. And we'll be able to talk about kids for cash, custody for cash, our immigration issues, and certainly free and equal elections.
Free and equal, and so the goal is to be able to keep all of you focused on what our results are, whether there are, and some of the results may be no result.
Yeah.
It's if there is not a comment made, that in fact is a comment. If they're refusing to comment to things, so we're going to do our best to keep you informed. And then maybe, Lou, come up with some solutions on what we can do to change the outcomes. So this is, I think, a potential goal that we're going to have in 2024 to move forward.
So that's it. We'll check in with you guys in another couple days. You could always go to independentgazette.org. We have some of our old radio shows up there.
We do.
We do some satirical humor. You could always check out who's getting the Walking Eagle Award, which is a very famous award that we used to hand out to those politicians that demonstrated the qualities of what the Walking Eagle Award was. And of course, Michael, that is a bird so full of shit it no longer flies.
Right.
So that was always a very, very,
yes.
And
perhaps we can even take suggestions from our audience of who should get
the Walking Eagle Award this week or next week.
Or next week. And why?
Every 10 days when it comes out to
days.
the newspaper. So, Michael, good that we're both back together again.
Yes.
You're back from Texas. We're able to sit next to one another.
Yep.
And actually, we're a little bit more relaxed from that first day when we both stood up And we never had an opportunity to even sit down because we were too scared when we first got
Oh
on
my goodness,
94.3 FM, the talker.
The
So
talker, yes.
good to have you back, and we'll keep everybody informed.
And of course, God bless.
God bless. Oh, that's right. There you go. That's it.